All right, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We're going to get underway here. My name is Darren Douglas, and I would like to thank everyone for attending our workshop entitled Rhythmic Remedies, Meeting Your Students Where They Are. And that's a key point to remember, meeting your students where they are. But we're going to get really deep into that. We're also going to talk about how we can use the power and influence of music in a positive and constructive way that makes the learning process fun and exciting and an enjoyable process for both you and your students. And then we're going to get into some practical applications and demonstrations on how you can actually accomplish that in your individual classroom settings. Okay, so before we really get into the meat of our discussion, I just wanted to take this opportunity to show my appreciation and honor and acknowledge each and every one of you in here for the tremendous task of teaching that you've taken on. That is not a job to take lightly, because actually what you are doing is you are taking the minds that will literally create the future that we experience tomorrow, and you're shaping and molding those minds, and that's a heck of a responsibility. So that's not something to, take lightly. So please, everyone, would you give yourselves a nice round of applause for that? Come on. Yes, for teaching. Yes. All right. So now, I want to ask everyone who in here considers themselves to be fairly open-minded. I know I do. Okay, and that's a good point to keep in mind, because throughout this talk we're going to be approaching the subject of teaching and learning from a different perspective. And I just want to let everyone know up front that this is not about the right or wrong way to teach. It's not about right or wrong. It's just about being flexible, being resourceful, having the ability to adapt to any particular situation that you may find yourself in. And that's really what we want, is maximum flexibility to be able to communicate with our students. So now, as teachers, as instructors, I would probably say in my teaching experience, the first most critical step that you have to take in breaking the ground and laying the foundation for teaching a particular subject to someone is removing the feelings and the emotions of anxiety. Now, anxiety can be expressed in a number of different ways. It can be expressed towards the particular subject that the student is about to learn. There could be some aspect of the work involved surrounding the subject that the student may be a little fearful of, or the student may just be fearful of themselves. They may be afraid of themselves not really being able to comprehend the subject. A perfect example of this would be the subject of math. I have never in all my life seen a subject that is more feared or more misunderstood by more students than the subject of math. And we definitely want to bust that anxiety up, break that ground, so that math is fun and enjoyable. Oh, it's all right. Go ahead, have a seat. Because math is so fundamental. It's the foundation to everything else. Mathematics is in everything. It's in everyday life. So if you're fearful of it, that just hurts you, and it really limits your world. Another example would be, now let's take a subject that you may not hear so many students saying that they're afraid of, like the subject of science. But there could still be some anxiety surrounding that subject, because the student may be really into the hands-on, doing the science experiments and what have you, but they hate all of the reading involved. But see, unfortunately, you got to have both. You got to have the hands-on, and you have to have the reading. You have to have the literal sense too. So, since you need both, you got to find a way to make both aspects of it fun. And that is a constant struggle that we're in as teachers, is trying to make our students enthused about learning. Now, from our experience, one of the many ways that the emotions of anxiety can be conquered is through music, through rhyme and rhythm. Okay? That's been our experience. And it really is highly effective in loosening up the student who may be a little, a little nervous about taking on something that's unfamiliar. And basically, we want to understand that in a typical classroom setting, where you have 30, 40, or even more students. Now, these could be small children, teenagers, or they could even be adults. But we all have what is called learning styles. Okay? Now, to really define a learning style, think about it like this. Everybody in here has a particular way that they take in, process, and retain information. Some of us are more book-oriented. Some of us are really good with reading, taking notes, and then rewriting the notes over and over again to memorize them, internalize them, and be able to recall them later. Some students are really, really hands-on. They're really action-oriented. And they learn best by turning their learning process into an experience rather than just sitting and taking notes and reading books. Well, now, what we want as teachers is to have the maximum flexibility in our communication to be able to reach the students where they are. And that's not always easy to do. But our experience has been that when you put it to music, when you have rhyme and you have rhythm, and it's just powerful. It's really powerful. So this whole thing is about the level of uniqueness and diversity that you'll experience in a typical classroom setting with each individual student.